Welcome to Revelation Unraveled. I'm your host, William Tapley, also known as the third eagle of the apocalypse and the co-prophet of the end times. The topic for this program is the death of the Catholic Church. In these end times, there will be three major restraints on the Antichrist. The first is the most powerful nation in the world, the United States. And he will destroy the United States in World War III. The second restraint on the Antichrist is the Roman Catholic Church, the largest Christian denomination, with over 1 billion members. The Antichrist will also succeed in destroying the Catholic Church. The third restraint will be the two prophets which God sends down from heaven, Enoch and Elijah. The Antichrist also succeeds in clearing away this roadblock to his public appearance as the world's foremost dictator. On this program, I will concentrate on the end of the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church prophesies this end in its own prophecy, even though you won't hear the Pope or Catholic bishops talk about it. Let's take a look at the Catechism of the Catholic Church itself, and I have a copy right here. Let's see what the Catechism says in paragraphs 675 and 677. Before Christ's second coming, the Church must pass through a final trial which will shake the faith of many believers. The Church will enter the glory of the kingdom only through this final Passover, when she will follow her Lord in his death and resurrection. The Church itself is saying here that the Roman Catholic Church will die just as Jesus did. St. John also describes the destruction of the Roman Catholic Church in chapter 11 of his book of Revelation. And there was given me a reed like a rod, and the angel said, "Arise and measure the temple of God, and the altar, and them that worship therein. But the court which is without the temple cast out, and measure it not, for it is given to the Gentiles. And the holy city they shall trod under foot 42 months. Now every Christian Bible scholar, both Catholic and Protestant, have always assumed that this holy city is Jerusalem, and the temple of God and the altar refer to a Jewish temple. This is not true. The temple is the Roman Catholic Church, and the holy city is the city of Rome. Let's see how St. John verifies this amazing prophecy. Of course, I admit the holy city should be Jerusalem because it's holy. But let's see what St. John writes in verse number 8. And their bodies, and he is talking about the two prophets, Enoch and Elijah, shall lie in the streets of the great city. Well, the great city, of course, would be Rome, because Rome was the greatest city during St. John's time, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt. Well, this certainly could be Rome, because Rome was a Sodom, where also their Lord was crucified. Oops, this great city can't be Rome. The great city must be Jerusalem. So now we have a problem. If the great city here is Jerusalem, then what is the holy city back in verse number 2? This is a case of reverse identification. In other words, it's like saying, if the grass is blue, then the sky must be green. Or if a lemon is sweet, then an apple must be sour. In other words, if this great city is Jerusalem, which St. John makes clear that it is, then the holy city must be Rome. Is there any verification in Revelation itself where St. John verifies that Rome will be given to the Gentiles? Let's look at chapter 17. And the 10 horns shall hate the harlot, and shall burn her with fire. Now these 10 horns represent the revived Roman Empire. And St. John continues, "For God has given to their hearts that which pleases him, and they shall give their kingdom to the beast." The kingdom of the Roman Empire is Rome. The beast are the Gentiles that St. John was writing about. The 42 months is the first half of the Great Tribulation. That is when the Roman Catholic Church will be trodden under by the Gentiles. But what about when Jesus said, "The gates of hell will not prevail against my church"? Let's see what happens to the faithful Catholics who represent the true faith. In chapter 12, verse 1, St. John writes, "And a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars." Now this woman is the faithful Catholic Church, and also Mary. Don't listen, by the way, to the false prophets who say that this woman represents Israel. Later on, St. John makes it clear that the seed of this woman, that is her spiritual children, have the testimony of Jesus Christ. No way does Israel have the testimony of Jesus Christ. I challenge the false prophets to go to Israel itself. Ask the Israelis, do they consider Israel the woman clothed with the sun? I don't think so. Now let's continue with verse 6. "And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she had a place prepared by God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. Now this 1,260 days is the same time frame we mentioned earlier that the holy city would be trod underfoot by the Gentiles. This is the first half of the Great Tribulation. It's interesting to note that in this passage the woman flees into the wilderness. In the next passage we read, she flies to her place in the desert. There is a difference between fleeing and flying. You flee from something and you fly to something. "And there were given to the woman 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly to her place in the desert, where she is nourished for a time, times, and half a time." In the earlier passage, the woman, that is the remnant Catholic Church, flees from the Catholic Church, which is taken over by the false prophet. In the second half of the Great Tribulation, the woman, that is the remnant Catholics, fly away from the Antichrist and to the desert. Now let's take another look at this holy city in chapter 11 of Revelations, where St. John describes a holy city, which is Rome. "And the angel said, Arise and measure the temple of God, and the altar, and them that worship therein." In other words, the angel says to only count the remnant Catholics at the heart of the church. But the church outside, that is the exterior structure of the church, will be given to the Gentiles. "But the court which is without the temple cast out." Now this court outside the temple are all the visible institutions of the Catholic Church. All of the hospitals, all of the colleges and universities, all the parochial schools, all the convents, seminaries, churches, cathedrals, and every other structure you can think of. All those things will be given to the one world government and the Antichrist. I don't like to be the bearer of bad tidings for you Catholics any more than I like to tell Americans that their country will be destroyed in World War III. I am both an American and a Catholic myself. But I know that God is giving these prophecies not to scare us, but to prepare us. Now, if you would like more information, simply write to the address you see on your screen.